I'll need to. I don't think I'll be buying a Flex radio that has that feature. So, I'm still working with this archaic analog stuff. Back to you.
Yep, no, you're right. You're not getting the concept at all. But as you say, there's not much point going on about it. Especially when the stations are ready to call in. Now, your understanding of how this stuff works is needs updating. I've said this to you before. It would be great if you could get an SDR like an Hermes, right, and use it and actually get into how these things work and move away from the analog idea. Yes, of course it can change the output, not the output of the, it does change the output of the audio of the analog amplifier by modifying the envelope that goes into it. And this is the point, the SDR stuff is processing the information at a digital level that's so fast that it can change in milliseconds whatever's coming out of the audio amplifier, even if it's wrong, by changing the input to it. So it can change the high frequencies, and you can look at how the audio amplifier, the RF amplifier's envelope is relative to what's going into it. It does this at sort of like incredibly fast speed. That's how it's changing it. It is not in any way analogous. It really isn't. You've got to get an SDR to listen to and play with, and just get the idea of how it works. It's absolutely phenomenal. It still seems a bit magic to me, even though I have an understanding of it partially. This transmit stuff, though, is quite new, and this algorithm that it's using, which mimics effectively the compression, is quite phenomenal. And yes, it can change its shape, it could change its voice, it could turn me into Frank Sinatra, I suppose, if it wanted to. And you'd never know that it wasn't Frank here in Alicante on holiday, and it's just been hiding away with Elvis in the background. You'd never know that, Shane. Never.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I think I'm going to drop it. I don't know, you're completely misunderstanding what I'm saying, I think. I'm not gonna be the dog with the bone here, and I'm not talking about the analog world, but anyway, we're talking about. Well, here I'm just tempted to go around the loop again, but anyway, let's stop that and let's see if there's any stations that want to call in. Back to you.
Yeah, there was a Fox 5 station called. Go ahead. No, is you upset with it? No, I'm not misunderstanding at all, Shane. I'm just keep saying the same thing over and over again, and you keep ignoring it, and I'm ignoring what you're saying because I'm believing that you don't understand what I'm saying. So yeah, as you say, there's no point going round and round in circles. You've got to experience it and be involved in it in order to have a go at it. Where you're just sat there with analog radio or your 3000 or whatever. So these are parts SDR, but you have it's a very same sort of radio that is similar to all the ones that you've had before, and it is analogous in the method it works. But these SDR things are all about software. There's so little hardware in them, it's mind-blowing. And I still can't believe sometimes that you can get the signals that we do, or the RF out of them, where the RF, the actual audio analog component is literally at the very final moment of the process. All the rest of it is digital, like PWMs or whatever. That's how it generates the audio. And it's only us, you and I, who are the analog components in this whole system, including the transmit. And there's a lot to learn about it and a lot to think about it. And the more I look at it, the more I find myself wanting to do more with it and thinking more about it and trying to understand it more. And the more complex it becomes, and then you go again, like you're going round and round in circles. How can it do that? But it does. It works, and it works very, very well. But I think the easiest way to do it is to get involved in it and use it yourself, play tube.
Yeah, but whether I have a radio that you deem as an SDR has nothing really to do with the conversation, to be honest. It's like, if I was to compare my old 520 kicking out a single sideband signal to your SDR and putting out a single sideband signal, those two, and they were both, on whatever frequency X, they're both going to be the same. If you were to look at those with a piece of test gear, that signal that's coming out of both radios is going to look the same. Okay, one's going to be a little wider, one will be a little cleaner and that, but effectively it is truly an analog signal at that point. Like, I'm not saying I don't mean analog like a old analog radio, but it's a signal that can be, you can look at it with a piece of test gear, and it's going to be analog. The way that test gear sees it is going to be the same for both radios, definitely. Now, inside the radio, up to a certain stage, you can't do that. No, of course not. In the SDR radio, you can't do that. No. Now, in the analog radio, you can obviously do it. But anyway, okay. So let's see if anyway, what time is it here? Oh, God, 2 o'clock. Anyway, no, I'm going to hang in here for about another half hour or so. Anyway. Oh, and another side tangent here. What was his name? Everett. He's not going to buy the radio, so that went down the tube there. It didn't really make sense for him to buy a radio. He was only going to be here for another couple of weeks, and then he said he wasn't going to be coming back for like a year. So it really didn't make any sense for him to buy one of those old radios. I was talking to him about it, and anyway, at first he was looking at, he wanted one of the 520s, for example, but then later on he was saying he wanted a radio that was reliable because he doesn't have any equipment to fix it here or do anything. But then he wants a radio that's cheap, like not very expensive but very reliable. So you're not going to buy one of these old 520s that, one day it needs some, the switch isn't working properly, it's got a dirty switch or something. So that would be, so it wasn't effectively, from what I was thinking, it's not a good idea to sell him that radio. If anything happened to it, it would be like I was selling him a radio that was not reliable. But the guy who buys one of these radios is going to have to be somebody who knows a little bit about it, effectively, or he's going to be buying a parts radio, and that's it, sort of thing. So anyway, that's all gone down the tube there, but I did have a good look at the radio, and now I found a few little problems with it, which I had mentioned to him before. And when I spoke to him at the breakfast, he didn't really seem to, that sort of didn't faze him at all. But then later, when I spoke to him on the phone, he was saying it's like everything changed a little bit. So anyway, for a while there, I thought I was going to be getting rid of one of them, and that's gone down the tube there. So we'll see how it goes in the future. But anyway, he was happy that I told him, and and that's it. So we'll see what happens when he comes back in a year and a bit. He said that he'll probably bring his another radio with him from there. I think that's probably the best thing to do. Over to you.
Yeah, 5JDD, 85QM. Oh, that's a pity, but yeah, it just seems at the time to me to be not strange that he was interested, but under the circumstances of him not being here permanently, it did seem strange. And one would have thought that a small mobile type radio would have been more suitable for his situation. I sort of thought. But his wife, Isabel, has been in touch with Sharon very regularly, every day since we've seen them. She's very keen on on bits and pieces because she does crafts like Sharon does, and she's apparently quite well into it. And we've got them coming round somewhere between Christmas and New Year.